actually tell me like when it's starting and when it started? I think it's live now. Welcome, Dark Histories live stream. If it is live, I just presume it is live. Welcome everyone
Yeah,
to Dark Histories live stream for season 3, episode 11.
it is.
I'm here again this week with Hallie,
That
or
American chick.
yeah, as better known on social media as that American chick. Uh, if anyone wants to come on, the link should be in the description. You might have to refresh the page, depending when you join the page. But yeah, if you want to come on, it's a free for all. This week we're talking about Townsend, the Townsend episode, but I think it's going to be quite a brief one because it's not a super complicated one. So we'll talk for a bit, and then kind of open things up and have a bit more of a free talk, I think. But yeah, so Hallie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm very
I'm
tired.
busy. You,
It's
you
been a
look sleepy.
long week, and I've been asleep since 6 o'clock this afternoon, actually. So I sort of slept completely the wrong time,
I,
but that's all right.
your your times are always messed up.
Yeah.
Always.
How's everyone in chat doing? Hope you're all doing well. It's going to be a delay in it. So yeah, recap on the top Townsend episode. So Townsend, what happened? So there was
Well,
a guy, and he sort of joined the navy, ran away a few times,
he
decided to
really
make
liked pumpkin pie.
yeah, really like pumpkin pie. Talked about it in the navy quite a bit, and then joined a minstrel troupe. Uh, Decided that the arts weren't really paying, which let's face it, anyone could have told him that the arts never pay,
No.
and decided to take up crime instead, um, and that paid a lot better. And so he was in a gang of pickpockets, which was awesome. And then they became slightly less awesome and started killing. But they killed one
Oh,
person,
that's right.
and then he kind of went on a big run for a long time, which may or may not have involved him joining a traveling circus. After which he finally got caught, or somebody finally got caught, who they said was Townsend, but the guy they caught said he wasn't Townsend and claimed to be McHenry from Scotland. And he claimed this for 13 months before he finally went on trial twice, both times
Oh,
getting away with it. Basically, because his only defense was, I can't be guilty because I'm not Townsend. Um, and he managed to get away with that. So, yeah, that was really the episode, wasn't it? Kind of the long and the short of it.
yeah, but I've got questions.
There are quite a lot of questions. I mean, there was those for starters. I mean, we'll get into it, but there was those 2 letters. That's a lot of questions in itself.
Oh my lord, those letters.
Yeah. I feel really sorry actually because I kind of pushed them into the episode and they were really long and overdrawn, and even I edited them down a bit. But
Did
I
you?
really, yeah, they were really long. But
Seriously?
I just felt like I needed to put them in because I really needed to impress, like how much of an effort he'd gone to writing these letters and his kind of headspace whilst he was writing them. But even I was reading them, I was thinking, oh Christ, this is too long. Like, this is too much of a long quote, and these letters are really going on. But I really needed to impress that to other people as well, because you can say to someone, oh, he wrote these long, over dramatic letters. It doesn't get the point across, does it? Unless you read it out. So,
Well, not just that, but I mean, part of the whole thing with his mom.
Townsend is Tolkien. Yeah, right.
No,
Long and
serious.
overdrawn.
But part of the whole thing with his mom was that he wasn't very well read or well written, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. So that's the big questions about those letters, isn't it? Is that his mum said that he could read and write, but in a rough hand, she called it. Which, yeah. So he could read and write, but not super well. But I mean, those letters were written pretty well, and sort of to me showed someone who was fairly educated for like 1870 or whatever it was, 1865, wasn't it?
Yeah, because I was gonna say if that's a rough hand, I can't imagine.
That was definitely not a rough hand in
Yeah,
1860s. Yeah, definitely not.
No, I don't think so.
Hey, Gareth.
Oh,
An hour south of Buffalo, New York, USA. I don't know where that would even be. I don't know where Buffalo is.
yeah, I really should just like post a map up for Ben, like this virtual interactive map, because he's not real familiar. Just like I'm not real familiar with England.
I basically, if it's New York, so New York, that's New York State, right? So that's not New York as in New York, New York, Manhattan or whatever. Am I right, or have I just said something really embarrassing?
No, he says you're right. He says
Oh,
correct. You
good.
got it.
So see, I basically know there. I know Maine for some reason, and I know California, and sometimes in the middle, I can kind of roughly guess.
You know Maine because, oh, that's right. She is in Maine. Yeah,
Maine's an
I
easy one
totally
because it's the top right. So it's an
I,
easy one.
yeah, but you also know that one because of that one episode. Uh,
Yeah, the ghost one, right?
yeah.
I forgot the name of it, but there was the ghost one, wasn't there, that was set in Maine? The girl.
Anne, no, not Anne.
Shit, what was her name? Everyone,
I don't.
anyone remember?
Well, I've got it. Was it? It wasn't Lorenzi. Was it Lorenzi?
Yeah, it was Laurency
Was
Venom.
it Lorenzi?
No, it wasn't Laurency
No,
Venom. It was the
no.
other
It was
one.
another one. It was another one, and
Nellie
Nellie
Butler.
Butler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Merle. That's the one. Nellie Butler. That's gonna stop that. At least that's made stop me going mental because that was gonna drive me crazy.
Can't read my own handwriting, apparently.
So yeah, so this starts out. He's basically joins a couple of boats. He was a crazy guy in Townsend. He joined a boat, deserted, and then joined a different one. That seems strange. Um, like surely if you're deserting the navy, you're just deserting it full stop, not deserting it to go elsewhere. But yeah, so he deserted his boat, and then when he left, something that I thought was really weird was that he was, like you say, he was actually quite educated and quite a decent, like from quite a decent background. Because normally, when you look at like these kind of petty criminals from like the 1800s, like Victorian era kind of time, they're generally like, I not always, but often it's like they're criminals out of necessity, sort of thing. Like their life circumstances have led them, a series of unfortunate events has kind of led them into a position where crime is really their only option, kind of thing. But this guy was quite educated and quite talented, and yet he still decided to screw it and join a bunch of pickpockets.
Well, yeah.
Which I found quite interesting because normally, you wouldn't. Normally, like someone like from his background would kind of go on to have done something not pickpockety and murderish.
But I think it all depends on the person, because he could be one of those people who is really, really smart. So they get bored with the mundane kind of day-to-day things, and they need that little piece of adrenaline,
Mm,
that
yeah,
excitement to
to
keep them going.
keep things spicy. Yeah, I'd say I don't know how smart he was, but it just seemed like his background was okay. It was kind of stable, like he had like a stable family and all the rest of it. It wasn't like, normally, especially in London, you see those kind of where people tend to wash up. You tend to read their stories, and it's like some sort of unfortunate accident had killed their husband, so they kind of turned to alcoholism and prostitution on the London East End or whatever, like, or that there's always kind of some sort of unfortunate accidents that kind of lend them to petty crime, whereas this guy just kind of chose it. It was like, yeah, bugger that. This minstrel troupe isn't working out for me. I'm going to start picking pockets instead. But yeah, I thought that was just kind of an interesting aside kind of thing. So yeah, he joined this gang of pickpockets, and that was kind of all right for a while. He basically just pickpocketed people and made a little bit of cash. And then they decided to rob someone's house and murder them. So he shot him in the back, which was quite an extreme escalation. They went from just kind of pickpocketing to straight shooting someone in the back, whilst dressed with a fake beard made out of buffalo hair.
Buffalo hair.
Which is, man, just magnificent, isn't it?
Had to be kind of expensive, no?
I guess so. I mean, a fake beard. I mean, that's a bespoke item, surely. In 18, I mean, that's fairly bespoke now, but in 1870, surely. You know.
Yeah, no. I'd like to see that sell on Etsy. Yeah, Sharona says she can't even. Yeah, back when there were buffalo. No, you're absolutely right.
I would love to know how like neat and trim it was. You can't see it. I'm sure it was just this like toilet brush of a thing coming off his face.
Can you imagine what he looked like? He probably looked like a caveman. I mean, somebody who
absolute psychopath.
So people were probably more distracted by what the beard looked like than actually. I mean, that was probably his biggest distraction, was what the beard looked like. That's why people couldn't place him anywhere.
Exactly.
God knows what color his eyes were, because they couldn't stop looking.
They were fixated with the fake beard. Yeah.
It's like a train wreck, you know. You're just like, can't stop looking.
Yeah, it was very funny, wasn't it? Like that whole the fact that like no one in the house could actually said, "Oh, I couldn't recognize him if I saw him." But yeah, they're all just sort of, "Oh my life, what is that on his face?" Yeah, so he was all over wasn't he fair? Yeah, he was kind of he had that typical European hair color, which is kind of slightly dark, muddy, mousy, blonde, brown. As a hairstylist, I should probably have described that better, but that's basically the typical European hair color. Yeah. But yeah, so after that, he went on a run, which may or may not have involved him joining the circus, but did involve him getting on a train, getting nearly caught, and then saying, "Well, me, gov," and blagging his way out of it by saying, "Oh, I've been told I look like Townsend already twice today," and pretending to be a man from the gentry, and he got away with it.
I also think he was just one of those people who really kind of like thrived on and enjoyed the game, the pretending.
Seems like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, the pretending of being someone else. You know, he really liked it. He just really kind of immersed himself in that world, and I just think he really, I think it was him. I just think he really enjoyed doing that. Either that, or God knows, I mean, he could have been a twin, you know, he could have been triplets for all that matter. But
I do agree. I think, you know, like the how necessary was the fake beard? Do you know what I mean? Like, how necessary was it, and how much was it him just going like, "Hey, I got a fake beard. Oy.
And buffalo hair. Want to see my buffalo? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Well, but he couldn't grow a beard, remember? Because he had, what, a woman's face? Is that what they said? Or,
that's what some guy said, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, when he was in the Navy, he had too much for a woman's face. He couldn't grow a beard.
Couldn't grow a beard because he had a woman's face. I don't know. I mean, the bearded lady might have something to say about that, you know?
It was probably about the same sort of time, wasn't it?
I mean, he was in the circus, so...
Well, yeah, so then he disappears. He goes like underground for like a couple of years. I mean, well, he doesn't at first. He goes and lives with his family and dresses as a woman for 7 weeks. Again, clearly he's enjoying the game, wasn't he? Like to dress up and the disguise and all the rest of it. He was obviously fairly theatrical.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking too.
He had the face for it. Yeah, maybe that's why he could pull it off so well. Maybe that guy said the most, you know, the smartest testimony of all that he had a woman's face. Maybe he actually legitimately did. But well, they did say that he was actually very similar to his sister.
Or his sister was more manly than maybe she could grow a beard.
Yeah, one way or the other. Yeah, no, but they did point out that he was remarkably similar in looks to his sister. Want to pet my buffalo?
I just keep hearing that in my head. Hey, baby, want to pet my buffalo? Yeah, no, I just. Yeah, see if even if they were like fraternal twins, him and his sister, that could be quite interesting.
So it was just bonkers. The whole story was bonkers, really. So then I like the fact that it's getting really into the gutter now, isn't it?
Yeah, we're just. We were done with this one from the beginning. I mean, geez, you couldn't even hold a straight face when you were talking about how much he was talking about pumpkin pie.
Well, wasn't that just a bizarre testimony? That was the strangest testimony of all time. Like, this.
Not just that, but how his mom was going about how he wasn't well read and whatnot, but he could perform really good handstands.
Yeah, there was
he was in the circus. He had to have learned something.
Yeah, it was just. But the strangest thing is, right? I included that, but about 4 or 5 people all said in their testimony that he could do really good handstands. Like, it wasn't even like a one-off. This was several people mentioned it. I don't know why they found it important. Like, oh, he could do really good handstands. The fuck has that got to do with anything? But the whole thing was an absolute farce. I mean, the whole thing was an entire nightmare. They basically just kept bringing people in for days, and one person would say, "Yeah, it's definitely him," and then the next person would go, "Oh, I don't know," and then the next person would come in and go, "Absolutely not." It was just an absolute farce. They should have made him do handstands. Yeah, well, I wonder why they didn't actually. They did just about everything else in the court. I mean, they even got his toe bones out, and we're looking at the size of his toe bones because apparently the real Townsend had large, like toe bones or toe joints. So they were even looking at that. So yeah, I don't know why they didn't say like come out into the middle of the court and do a handstand. We'll judge you on that.
Everybody, all the jury holds up numbers.
Yeah.
And far
too good. It's got to be Townsend. But so
I better handstand than that.
So he runs off with the circus, or potentially runs off with the circus, and the guy, like the ringmaster, the circus man, who I could picture with tiny thin legs and a massive belly and a big red jacket and a big black hat. I'm not sure if that's what he really looked like, but that's exactly how he looks in my imagination. Was approached by the police, and the police said, basically, we know that someone you work for that works for you is this like wanted guy. Keep it to yourself. We're going to do a raid, eh? You ain't seen us. And the very first thing he did is turn around and go and see Townsend and say, by the way, police are after you. If you really are Townsend, you should clear out. So that night he does. So he clearly was Townsend. So, it leads you to believe that he really did join the circus. And then they do finally catch him. And yeah, like he says, he's McHenry for 13 months. Now, it took him almost 8 months before they got a Scottish person in to double check his backstory. That's bizarre. And to even check his accent.
They had several townspeople come and see if he really sounded like a true Scotsman.
Yeah, but not for months. They let that go for ages. They were just like, oh, he says he's McHenry. Let's just say he is. Didn't think like, oh, we should probably check that.
Son of a weaver.
Yeah, but his backstory at first. The first time I read it through, because I mean, this story I sort of stumbled upon by accident, and I was reading it, and I just couldn't believe it. The more I read about it, like the more I kind of dug up through the newspapers, just the more bizarre it got. But um, like I just couldn't believe that how long it took them to do certain things which were really basic. But at first I thought his backstory is really solid. Like I kind of believe this McHenry story. But then I kind of realized that actually he was a sailor, right? Like he's bound to have met, and he seems to have been like on the road for quite a long time and things like that. So he's probably met this someone else in a pub who's told him like a similar story, and he's just filched it, right?
Yeah, because honestly, if he's one of those people like who's really smart and who just needs that kind of extra bit of excitement in his life in order to, you know, stay on the good side of things, he's just, there are so many. I mean, when you hear about these criminals who are like that, who are just really, really super intelligent, but need that adrenaline rush, and their memories, they're like elephants. I mean, they can just sit there and listen to somebody divulge all these details and just soak them up like a sponge, and then use them to their advantage later on.
Yeah,
And
see, that's what I thought.
that's what he reminds me of.
Yeah, so he sort of just thought, oh, what? So what was it like at your hometown, But actually, secretly, he's kind of banking all of that. But
Yeah.
like Sharona said, like no one knew him in his hometown in Scotland, and that's what really because I was kind of convinced. I was thinking like, yeah, so that probably is McHenry then, right? Like he probably did get away with it because he even after the trial, he released a piece to the press that basically explained his backstory even further. But that was it, and then after that, he disappeared. But then it turns out that McHenry didn't even exist, and that's impossible. Like in 1870 Scotland,
Yeah.
like that.
McHenry. I mean, isn't that a
You,
pretty common name?
I don't know how common it is. I looked it up, and I did find like a couple of McHenry families. But what's more impossible is just you can't. Like in 1870 in England or Britain, you couldn't just there would have been records of his like birth and emigration and everything. There would have been records. Like you can't. It wasn't the Wild West. Do you know what I mean? We'd had censuses and birth and death records for hundreds of years by that point. You can't just be not existing unless you don't exist.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, and then I was like, really, it's really like the twist at the end, isn't it? Because I was convinced, to be honest, he had me going. I was like, yeah, he's definitely McHenry. This is all just some big mistake. It's all a big conspiracy, but because that was his kind of, yeah, right, Gareth. It was like, well, since the Doomsday, right? The Doomsday book was the first kind of where they really sorted that shit out and went, let's fix this. We don't know who's who, and we need to get money.
Insert invisible emoji. That's too funny.
But yeah, I mean, so I just think like because his basically his story was that it was a big conspiracy against him, to get the reward money, right? That was what he was kind of. That's why he was blaming his incarceration.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I kind of went along with. I was like, yeah, I can kind of see that, and you're pretty convincing. Wow.
You really thought he was that good, huh?
Yeah, I thought. I mean, you read a lot. Look at those letters then. So let's get back to those letters. I mean, they were pretty convincing. Like they were, they were long and rambling, and they really went on for way too long. But they were pretty convincing.
Well, but he wrote them when he was in prison, right?
He had plenty of time to write them, and he could also have had help as well, which is what we don't know.
Yeah, he could have multiple drafts. I mean, if you searched his cell, he probably had like
it's just a big screwed up ball of paper in the corner, like loads and loads of rough drafts.
No, and that's true. And somebody, was it somebody said something on Discord about can you imagine what he would have been capable of doing today, like nowadays, like in this day and time? And it's like, it really put a whole different spin on it. And I mean, with that kind of a brain and that kind of a talent for deception and getting away with things, I just wonder what he really could have been capable of.
I really liked I really liked his balls when he went into the court on like the pre-trial kind of thing and just said like, I don't have any to defense because I don't need it. I've been ready for 3 months. It's not me. And then he kind of swiftly changed his mind when he saw the prosecution go, well, we've got all this. And then oh yeah, actually, I might go get that defense sorted.
Yeah, right. When all of a sudden he's like, ooh, yeah, about that defense attorney.
Yeah.
He's still around. Is he still hanging around here?
So yeah, but that's another thing. It's like even his defense were two really quite like infamous attorneys that worked for him for free because they believed his story. So he even had those people go. I mean, he had everyone on the hook, basically. DB Cooper, yeah, that's one, isn't it? That's a story. That's DB Cooper's the guy who jumped out the airplane with all the money, isn't he?
Yeah.
Mm.
Garrett said he could be president of the USA. There's a horse in the hospital. Oh, I don't know if anyone has ever seen John Mulaney's an American comedian, and he's just, I think he's funny, but he does this bit, and it's real. All you have to do is search John Mulaney horse in a hospital, and it's good. He's got a bunch of different ones. He was basically talking about how right now the president of the US, it's like having a horse running loose in a hospital, how it's never happened before. And so nobody really knows what to do, and not even the horse knows what to do because the horse has never been in a hospital before. So but oh yeah, DB Cooper's the one that parachuted out of the plane over a pretty well forested area from what I can remember. I mean, there were some trees down there. I don't know. Nobody's ever been able to find like hide nor hair nor trace, nothing.
He's got a really I don't know the story too well, but he was proper like he got on the plane and organized it all, didn't he? Like he's you've got to fly at this height, go do this.
Mm-hmm.
He took the plane basically kind of hostage, right? Or
yeah, but he didn't hurt anyone.
Yeah, he just jumped out, didn't he? Wasn't there? Didn't someone, because they've got the number, like the serial numbers on from the money.
On the money, yeah.
I think so. Didn't some turn up or something?
I don't remember exactly.
I don't know the story too well. I basically another podcast I listen to called The Unexplained, with Howard Hughes. He's really into it.
Yeah.
And
he does. He really likes it. He likes the DB Cooper story.
Yeah. He sort of talked about it a few times. So that's kind of about all I kind of know of it. But yeah, I thought so as well, Sharon. I thought someone came up, like found some of the money. But yeah, no, it's a quite it's another one of those like super audacious, can't believe he did that kind of stories, right? It's
okay. Russell said that around 1980 a kid found some of it.
Right, yeah. I don't know it too well, but yeah, it's a good story.
Yeah.
Because there's loads of sort of if he'd have buried it, it would have rotted away and stuff like that by now and things like that. So there's people saying that maybe we'll never find it and all the rest of it. But it's kind of one of those stories that's going to run forever, right?
Yeah, well, because no one's been able to really know who he is, because if you look at like the sketches and stuff of him, it's it's basically like trying to identify the Unabomber sketch. It's he's got these glasses and
Yeah. I mean, and the other thing is, if you're running away with that much money, you've got the means to not look like that
back then.
Yeah.
Especially back then.
Yeah, did they even find his parachute or anything like that? Or did he totally disappear?
I don't remember. I'm horrible. I just don't. I mean, I know the story. I just don't know the details really well.
Yeah, same. I don't know any of the details
I don't
really.
know. Did they find his parachute, you guys? I'm like asking.
Yeah, yeah. I figured they at least
You guys
everyone
know.
knows way more about it than me. So, but
You guys know. Come on.
yeah. So, whilst we wait for that, does anyone actually think that
Oh,
it?
we're talking
That,
about D.B. Cooper.
yeah, does anyone actually? Well, no, that's all right because this story is so short. I thought we'd sort of do something like this anyway this week, where we kind of open it up to a bit of an open Q&A and talk about old episodes or not even episodes. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact: paper money is made of cotton. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Paper money. It all gets like you can like pull it apart when it gets old. I like that. They found a tag or label for the plane in the woods too. Around this, that was I can't believe how badly I just read that. Is it? So yeah, does anyone actually think that it was Townsend?
I do. I think
Wait,
it was him.
yeah, I think. Well, and then McHenry was all just a black.
How do they know that it was really his mom that was testifying?
Well, I mean, his family's testimony were bonkers anyway.
That's what I'm saying. How do they know that they weren't just some crazed gypsy circus troupe that was all in on the thing?
It's definitely a
Yeah.
better story if he was Townsend. It's definitely because if he wasn't Townsend, it's kind of a letdown, right? Because then it's like, oh, so he was just telling the truth the whole time. It's definitely a better story if it. I mean, I don't want to ruin Usual Suspects, but it's definitely a better story if he sort of turns out to be sort of Kaiser Soze figure who's just disappears. Yeah, oh yeah, McHenry. See you later. Because I
See,
mean,
that's what I'm saying. His
one of the
family could
things.
have been lying if it was his family.
Yeah,
I
well,
think
there were rumors that he hung out with his sister after the trial as well for a time.
Morelli says, but the tattoos, see, that was the other thing that I was like, well, maybe he's got a twin.
Yeah, but the only people that ever said anything about his tattoos were his family. So were they
Oh,
lying?
really?
No
I
one
thought
else
somebody that,
testified.
why did I
I
think
don't
that somebody,
remember reading
I
anyone
thought
else.
somebody who sailed, like somebody who was in the Navy with him said something. So I
Oh,
could be
they may
wrong.
have. No, they may have. I mean, I read a lot of testimonies that week. The ones that stood out were his family to me, but yeah, no, they absolutely may have because there was a shitload of people to giving testimony, like 50 or 60 from each side on each trial. So there's loads. But yeah, I mean, I thought it like because afterwards there were sort of rumors that he hung out with Townsend's sister for a bit, sort of making a little bit of side cash, being not Townsend, and then he just basically disappeared. So that was one of the things that kind of pushed me most to believing that it was Townsend making it up because he spent a lot of time on those letters banging on about how it was a big conspiracy and he was going to make people pay for it. And I mean, you
Yeah.
would if you were put in, if you were incarcerated for 13 months wrongfully, you surely would have then attacked the state, right? But he didn't. He just went, nah, see you later.
He had a tramp stamp. Oh my God.
He kind of did though. He had like wasn't it like mum or something? His initials over an anchor. That was it for a sailor original.
My
But then I suppose
God.
it was the 1870s, so it probably perhaps was original then. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah, he just disappeared after the end of it. Like he didn't attack the estate or try and get any kind of compensation or anything. Now, if he really was McHenry, I think he would have gone for compensation, surely, for being put in
Don't
prison for
you?
13 months.
Because, I mean, especially because of the stink he was making about it. I mean, he was just making such a fuss over the injustice of it all and, being wrongfully incarcerated and the whole 9 yards. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, he
I
wrote
would,
2 letters all about how he was basically going to uncover this terrible crime and then kind of, you know, take the state to town for it, and he never did, which makes me think he probably was not McHenry. And it all just bolstered his lies. So do we all think? Does anyone? All right. So does anyone think it was McHenry and it was all just bad luck? I I don't. I think probably everyone's going to think it was Townsend, right?
I think it was crickets.
It's always that little delay. So so does anyone have any other questions about this or anything they want to talk about? Because it's quite a simple one, wasn't it? Really.
It is.
It was one of those fun, quirky little stories that I'd been doing. You know, sometimes I just need to do something a little bit easier. Otherwise, I'll not easier in terms of the research or anything, but easier in terms of the subject matter. Otherwise, I'll just drown in misery. So I just thought I'd pick something kind of fun and quirky for this week. But I hope it was enjoyable. But I think it was quite simple. How did you come across anything on him? You mean like the story in general? I just when I was looking up for Yesterday Today ages ago, I basically stumbled on the story, and then it was one of those ones that ran and ran and ran. So I was like, hey, I can possibly turn this into an like an actual episode. So I've got a subscription to the British National Newspaper Archives. That goes back to like the 1500s and has newspapers from like every day from the 1500s until now. And the search is okay in it, but sometimes you have to kind of get creative with your searches, but you can find most stuff in there, Gareth. If you're ever on Discord, I'm not really supposed to, I'm sure it's against the terms of service, but if you ever want to borrow it, pop onto Discord and I can share my username and password with people. I don't really mind doing that. It's a bit like only one person can use it at a time, and it does know that. Like if someone else is using it and someone else tries to use it, it says you're already logged in. But I can share it if someone wants to borrow it for something in particular. It's really useful. And it's really fun, and it's just loads of funny shit in there. It's just like, to be honest, I just quite enjoy just picking a random year and a random day, just seeing what comes up. Because it is absolutely fascinating. I found even like stuff you don't want to find. Like my mum, there's this story that I'm not sure if I've related to you guys before, but I'm going to tell everyone anyway. So my mum asked me to look up her parents because in the war, a bomb hit their house and killed like all the neighbors and stuff like that. My mum just wondered if it would be in the newspaper. So we looked it up, and it was in the newspaper when we found it. But we also found out that my mum's dad was arrested about 2 or 3 years later
That's right.
because he worked on the railway and he was stealing stuff out of lost property, like old clothes and stuff.
I forgot about that.
Him and 2 others were basically like shoplifting or like just sort of having stuff away out of the lost property, and they got caught. My mum obviously didn't know any of this, but it was in the newspapers for like about a week running. It was quite a story, and it was hilarious when we found out. Well, my mum was just like, I can't believe it, that's my dad. But so that you can find sometimes you have to get a bit creative with the searches, because especially when you go back old times, because spellings were not really standardized. Nothing was really standardized, so you have to kind of guess, and sometimes you have to kind of skirt around things, and rather than search for names like places and stuff like that, and then sort of dig and hunt and see what you can dig up. But I mean, a lot of times the newspapers until like the late 1800s were only 4 pages long anyway, so there's not too much to go through, and the 2 of those 4 pages were almost always adverts. So like Craigslist basically, which is also very funny.
Some of those ads are amazing, though.
Oh, they are. They're incredible. And what I find amazing is that, of course, it makes sense, but so people were just so similar to today. Like the things that they wanted, like in wanted ads were no different to what they are today. And that includes like everything that you can think of. But of course, they were still people. But you just think that people were more innocent and more somehow different in like the 1600s. But they really weren't. You were still looking at men giving wrestling lessons and things like that. Yeah, it's fascinating. There is an American equivalent, and it's called newspapers.com, and I've got a subscription to that as well. And that is dark as hell.
Oh, that comes that needs to come with the massive trigger warning, and I'm not a
it really
person.
does.
I'm not a trigger warning person either, but yeah.
There's a lot of that. I don't even. I have to censor out of Dark Histories because I just think it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. It's not worth going there. There's a lot of edgy political stuff on there. But the newspapers.com is way more expensive than the British Newspaper Archive, unfortunately. And they do this like 2-tier subscription as well, where you can subscribe and you get most stuff, and then there's like subscription plus, and then you get everything, and it's only really subscription plus which is actually worth a damn. But newspapers.com also has British newspapers. It has worldwide papers, which is useful. Whereas the British Newspaper Archive is better for British stuff, but it is only British. But yeah, if anyone wants to borrow either of those subscriptions, just let me know and I can do that. They're pretty interesting. They're buying and selling, and the American one is exactly what you can imagine, and it's ugly. So so that's pretty much that, isn't it, with Townsend? So if anyone has any questions they want to ask about anything, really, we could do like an open questions, or we could talk about old episodes, or we could even talk about not episodes, or we could just talk about newspapers all night. But yeah, I mean, I sort of went back through the old archives, and I was like, perhaps we could dig up an old archive, but then I realized that not everyone is going to know that off their head, like if I just pick a specific episode. So when's Yesterday Today returning? I still am kind of basically, I'm trying to get a backlog, like build up a backlog of months, because the problem is if you get like a week off, it severely hampers everything. So I'm basically building up a backlog of Yesterday Today, so it will be like months backed up, so that if anything, like I get ill or anything, life gets in the way, I can continue to put it out daily. It's the problem with a daily show, basically. Especially when I don't want Yesterday Today to affect Dark Histories. So I need to have loads of Yesterday Today on hand, basically, to get them out like continuously. But yeah, so I am doing it. I'm just working on the backlog, so hopefully soon. I really, at this point, I'm sort of collecting episodes, and I need to actually start releasing. It's got to that point where I'm just kind of still making episodes and going like, oh yeah, just do another week. Just do another week, and then
well, because the good thing is it's not like you're reporting on current news.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I mean, if it does ever get to that point where I feel exactly, and if it does get to the point where I feel like I want to do like, because I can have the backlog, and I can scrap an episode here and there if I do decide, oh, actually, this is a anniversary or something that I've forgotten, and I can go in and just kind of redo like a couple episodes here and there, like, and release them kind of as I'm going. So it's pretty all right to do, but it's just I don't basically, like, after last time, like I realized how quickly my backlog drained. I had like a week off and that was it, everything was screwed. But yeah, it is coming back soon. When? Don't know, but it would be quite soon. It won't be like you know, months. It'll be weeks rather than months. Yeah.
Everybody's marking that in their little
Yeah.
calendar right now. Jen said weeks instead of months.
Well, I really like Yesterday Today. It's really fun to do, and it's kind of like I say, like I'm basically writing a book that's and Yesterday Today is all the stuff that doesn't quite fit into that book. So it's more or less like a side product of something else I'm doing anyway. So yeah, it's fine to do it. It's really fun to do it. So yeah. Next Dark Histories, yeah. Well, yeah. So basically, I will talk about that because it was a funny episode actually. A long time ago, like in the 90s, I'm talking about. Like, so it's literally mid 90s at this point. I saw a story on TV that I loved, and it was on this thing with Carol Vorderman. If anyone's British and remembers Carol Vorderman, and she presented this like a kind of strange but true kind of program. And I remember reading a story on there, and I got a book from it. So I'm doing an episode on this story, and it's actually a bit of a change of pace because Dark Histories, I decided to kind of go to be more of a historical thing than a modern thing, and I kind of set a limit on myself as saying like Second World War would be like the most modern I'll do it now because I kind of trying to kind of create a niche or not a niche but like a coherent
you found your comfort zone, and the comfort zone for Dark Histories really is like no later than World War II.
Yeah, trying to make it sort of more coherent. But as it turns out, this story is from 1985, so I thought we'd kind of like just kind of I don't know, just sort of
We'll see if anyone notices.
But it's a bonkers story, and it's about time slips and about I don't know how deep I want to go into it. Although there's fuck all out there, so I can tell you everything about it, and you'll still be surprised at the episode, because there's absolutely zero information that's easily accessible for this one, and it's about a guy who uses a computer to talk to someone from like 400 years in the past, and it's bonkers. It's a really bonkers episode.
It's an interesting story.
It's the thing is, it's a load of old twaddle in my opinion, but it's a really compelling story.
But but it's an interesting story. Yeah.
The 80s were a time slip. Yeah. It's the more you read into it, the more I find it to be a load of bullshit. But it's just such a compelling story. It's got something about it that really kind of drags you in. So I've actually, this is like the third time I've gone to it to write it for Dark Histories, and every time I've decided that it doesn't quite work. But this time I just thought, no, let's just do it because it's a really compelling story, and I still think I'm not sure if it works. It's still going to be a bit of an outlier for Dark Histories, but it's just such a compelling and fun story that I think it's worth doing. And there's not a lot of information out there about it. It's the guy who wrote it originally, and like the main guy doesn't want anything to do with it anymore and doesn't want to be found. I found him, and he clearly.
Did you finally?
I found him, yeah, but he doesn't want anything to do with it. He's kind of moved on and doesn't want to sort of talk about it or anything. Like it's basically like, yeah, he doesn't want anything to do with it, which is, I kind of wonder what that must feel like when you've written a book and then like luckily it's out of print. Like for him it's out of print, so he's probably quite happy with that. His name is now McHenry.
He's the son of a weaver.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
there's no record of him anywhere.
Yeah, Yeah, so it is a bit of an outlier, but it's going to be set in the 80s, this one. But it's not really set in the 80s because it's time slipped back to like the 1500s. So it's kind of half in the 80s, half in the 1500s. The original message is just to give you a little bit of spice. The original message that they find on the computer is where is it? I've got like pages and pages of notes on this so far. Oh, is it this one? Oh, yeah. So the original message that he gets is true are the nightmares of a person that fears, safe are the bodies of the silent world. Turn, pretty flower, turn towards the sun, for you shall grow and sow. But the flower reaches too high and withers in the burning light. Get out your bricks. Pussycat, pussycat went to London to seek fame and fortune. Faith must not be lost, for this shall be your redeemer. That's the first message that he ever got. And after that, it gets absolutely bonkers with a guy, people calling him mine goodly friend and things like that. And speaking from the 1500s, it gets bonkers. It's a really great story. So I saw this old TV program with Carol Vorderman in the 90s, and it was just a banger. Yeah, exactly. Time slip to the 60s. Yeah,
with a lot of mushrooms involved.
Well, there's more to this story than I've let on, and it actually time slips two ways. But yeah. So yeah, I don't know what we'd say. What do we want to talk about? Does anyone want to ask any questions about old episodes or new episodes, or any questions whatsoever, or talk about Townsend more, or whatever, really? Because Townsend, there's not much to talk about, was there really?
No, but you were going to ask about the anniversary episode.
Oh, was I?
Yeah, you were going to ask if anyone had any suggestions before we tie in the nominations. Like category suggestions.
Yeah, there's been some good ones on Patreon. Some new ones today, I think, for episode suggestions. Not episode suggestions, category suggestions, rather. It's not a car. Oh wait, no, it does say cat.
No, it says cat.
God, I'm getting my eyes tested on Tuesday. That's lucky, isn't it? Because I thought that said car.
He's scratching a cat. I'm scratching a dog. He might lose his hand if he shows the cat. Yeah, she's got a bit of an attitude.
Yeah, she's quite sleepy at the moment, so we're all right.
She's like, Dad, it's the middle of the night.
Yeah, I think she's cold, so it's all right. Because when she gets cold, she like kind of slows down and becomes quite normal. So she's all right at the moment. But yeah, that's kind of that really. So I'm all right to kind of talk about anything else if anyone has any questions or anything. But otherwise, that's kind of Townsend done and dusted, really.
I think it was him.
I think it was him. I think like it's just a better story, isn't it? If it is him, it's kind of a letdown if it turns out that they really were just the government kind of being a conspiracy and just wanting the money. That's kind of rubbish. It's much more exciting if it's Townsend. And that's just as good a reason as any to believe that it is, I think. So yeah, I'll tell you what. Does anyone have any recommendations for decent like UFO or paranormal episode podcasts? Because I'm looking for one at the moment and I can't find bugger all.
Podcasts?
Yeah, everything is just when is the award show? So it'll be like I don't actually know. July? Yeah, end of July. I haven't actually looked at the calendar yet, but it'll be the end of July episode. Yeah, if anyone wants to be on it as well, if anyone wants to be on the award show, Art Bell's cracker. Yeah, I used to have this podcast that was the best of Art Bell, but they don't update it very often.
No, well, and even the ones that are like in the feed, you can't access.
Yeah, it's annoying, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't get them.
There is a website that just plays Art Bell 24/7, which is pretty good.
I love it.
That's pretty awesome. So you go on there and anything is just Art Bell 24 hours a day. You just go on there and just be chucked straight into the middle of some random 3-hour conversation about something. Unnormal Paranormal. I have to give that a go because that's one that I've not heard of. But yeah, no, I was looking for one at the moment, and everyone just seems to be like interviews with the same old 4 or 5 paranormal people that are just shilling their latest book of like one of 500 books they've written. And they're too well media trained. I don't like it because they're not there to actually talk about anything except for buy my book, and it's just boring. Graveyard Tales, yeah, I think maybe I haven't heard that. I've heard of it, but I've not listened to it. Maybe.
Yeah, for me that one's hit and miss. Sometimes I don't.
411. That's another Howard Hughes, isn't it? Unexplained. He likes that. He gets the guy on.
Yeah.
Quite often to do interviews with that guy. Yeah, they're always good episodes.
David Paulides.
That's the guy. Yeah, David Paulides.
Yeah.
Although I feel like he's milking it a little bit now.
Yeah.
He's milking his shtick a little bit.
just a tad. The whole thought process, though, the whole like situation in general is just mental. It's absolutely insane.
But yeah, see, Unexplained was a great podcast, but these days I feel like he's getting his guests are not quite as good as they used to be. I think he's maybe, don't know, a bit the same like as Mysterious Universe, because I used to love listening to that, and now I feel like they're kind of believing their own bullshit a little bit.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah, because there's
good though. I heard it the other day for the first time in a really long time, and I still enjoyed it. So
there's Unexplained with Howard Hughes, which I like, and then there's another one called Unexplained with Richard McLean Smith. That one's a little bit different. That's more of a narrative. That's kind of like
that the British guy who does
yeah,
bit like Richard lore kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
That one's a bit different. It's not interview style. It's more of a narrative. Like storytelling.
Funnily enough, I don't actually really like those sort of podcasts. Which is exactly what Dark Histories is.
Don't worry, Gareth. It won't. He won't.
Oh, I don't think I ever. See, a lot of people wanted me to do Eliza Lamb, and I feel I actually put it on the list when I first started Dark Histories as something that I wanted to do, but I don't think I can do it without annoying a lot of people, because my opinion on it is that it's not really much to talk about. So I don't. It's not a mystery. Yeah, I don't think. I think it's one of those ones where I can't win by doing it, because if I do it, it will just disappoint a lot of people and piss off others. So I just don't see the point in even approaching that subject. But yeah, no, I think the video was, it generated a lot of hype, but really once you look into it, over nothing really. Yeah. I really like some of the amateur YouTube ghost hunters though. They're pretty cracking. There's this group, I wish I could remember their name, but there's this group of like 4 British guys, and they're proper like amateurs, and I mean rank amateurs. They go on these kind of ghost hunts, and they're just so bad. But I really like it because they're really down to earth. They don't have any spiritual mediums or anything like that. They just go to places, they talk about the history, and then they stay overnight. They don't find anything, and then they go home the next day. But I really like it. It's more kind of
but real. That's how it should be.
Yeah. Instead of like trying to force something, or pretend like, did you hear that? Did you feel that? It's always something you can't quite get on the telly, right? Oh, didn't it just get cold then? Yeah, isn't it funny that you can't see that? You can't feel that when you're watching.
Well, yeah, but that's how it should be too, because so many of these shows manufacture something and just create something that's not even there.
Yeah.
If you go back and you ask like the actual whoever, owns the property or whatnot, hey, this show said that this happened, down in the basement or what have you. Did that ever really happen? And they're like, no. No. They're like, no.
Some of the amateur stuff on YouTube is pretty good. I quite like it. I like it when they don't ham it up so much and they just sort of do like ghost hunts, like real, because nothing happens. But that's fine, because that's life,
Well, and it's funny because I can't remember. Only paranormal shows. Yeah, I like the Dead Files. But yeah, it's funny because
I don't know that. I have to look at it.
The Dead Files is on the Travel Channel.
Oh,
It's
right,
good.
okay.
Yeah. See, ADHD totally kicked in. I went somewhere else in my brain. Just like gone. But no, I can't remember who it was, but I was watching this one on YouTube the other day, and dude seriously got the scared out of him. I really think he pissed himself. And when he was running out of this building, this old abandoned building, he's like tripping and falling, and you can tell that, he was truly terrified. It was great.
See, the thing is, well, the thing is, if you go ghost hunting, and nothing happens, it's still quite scary, because you're in this place you probably shouldn't be, and it's dark, and you kind of hype it up in your mind a little bit, so it's still kind of scary and fun anyway. So I don't know why they kind of why the big ghost shows need to kind of try and make something, because if they just went with be a bit rawer with it, like the YouTube amateurs are, then it's kind of scary, and it grabs you anyway, because if you get into the vibe of it, it's gonna scare you. I've done sort of a few ghost hunts and that, and I loved them, and I shit my pants, but nothing happened. But it still didn't stop me shitting my pants.
I think it's because, for the most part, people who are tuning into those shows to watch them for a paranormal experience of some sort are watching them to see something. So if they showed what was really happening, which most of the time is nothing, they wouldn't have a show.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose you can't really spin it.
Yeah.
Like indefinitely.
No.
Yeah. So that's pretty much that, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Sharona says it's more about the scare factor.
Yeah, they kind of gone with like jump scares and stuff like that now, haven't they? Rather than just be more about, hey. And don't even get me started on EVPs, because.
Yeah, no. Ben's an audio guy, so the whole EVP thing just kind of sends him into a time slip of his own.
Yeah, I just rage. But not only that, but it's so funny how, like, in the old days, like 10 years ago, everyone was talking about orbs, but now orbs are passé, and orbs but it's all about EVPs, and you just know that EVPs in 10 years, people are going to be, they're so passé, they're just the new orbs. Like, EVPs are the new orbs, and when people
orb thing drives me nuts,
and yeah, just the whole the EVP thing. I can't even.
I told you, there he goes.
It's so basic. I just want to destroy anyone's face who talks about that. It's so disingenuous as well. They all know. If any of them have the background they have, and then they say that they believe in EVPs, astonishing legends, then they're so disingenuous. Like, it is, they cannot believe what they believe if they have an audio background, because if you have an audio background for even them, I'm just gonna stop talking.
No, I love it, because that episode sent me over the edge, sent me into a rage. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was literally the last time I had listened to that podcast, because I was just done. I'm done.
Yeah, I haven't listened to it since either.
I was done.
Gareth,
Even
name of my guitar. Do you mean like as in like is it called like Jamie or Bob or is it's a Fender Jazzmaster? But do you mean like the name of it?
I think he wants to know if you have a name.
Yeah,
Or
well, I was wondering that, and I don't really actually. But that's unusual because I normally do. Sorry, Hallie, carry on.
no, I was just saying. I mean, I was touch and go on the podcast before that because it just had really lost its momentum. But oh my god, I tell you, after that episode, I was done. Yeah, see, he wanted a name.
Yeah, no, I didn't name it actually. I've never named it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it never really got a name.
What should he name it?
Yeah, what should I name it? I know that I made like a custom nameplate for it on the back, a custom neck plate for it, and called it a Fuzzmaster, Sonic Bloom Fuzzmaster. But
It's not EVP.
EVP, yeah. It's that bass is I used to play. I played bass before I played guitar, but the bass is actually a Moon, which is a Japanese company, and they make like custom basses based around like Fender jazz basses, but they're quite peculiar, and that particular one is, I don't know, it's got a story, it's got a background. But it's a beautiful bass. It really is. Really nice bass. But
Ben speaks Japanese.
yeah, and that comes from a Japanese band. I basically stole their bass one day. We'll leave it at that.
And then he joined a circus troupe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I have a few bizarre stories like that because I don't know if anyone knows the band The Trail of Dead, Annual Notice by The Trail of Dead, but I also have one of their pieces of their old guitar in my new guitar, from another equally bizarre story. But, yeah.
Oh, did you see that?
Oh, Towers from Tokyo. Are you from Tokyo, Towers, or are you just in Tokyo right now? As in, like, are you Japanese? I won't start speaking Japanese. Because only me and Towers will now just have a conversation between ourselves.
Saying everybody else is lost.
Yeah. So yeah, we kind of went right off on one now, haven't we? But that's okay.
Oh, he is Japanese.
Oh, cool.
Do you speak Japanese?
I would have thought so.
Well, I know that sounds like a silly question, but just because ethnically he may be Japanese or she may be Japanese does not mean that they speak it.
This is true. Oh, cool. Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, so that bass has you might actually know it. Oh, it's got there used to be a really cool club in Shibuya, and it's yeah, it was stolen from Shibuya club in Shibuya, basically. Not by me, I should hesitate to add. But yeah, yeah, it's got a yeah. Oh, yeah.
He gets quiet.
Yeah, it's a strange story, but yeah.
See, Sharona just hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, exactly. Where we talk about episodes for 32 seconds and then get distracted. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly, Marily. Now he's starting to ask the detailed questions, and pretty soon Ben's going to hear a knock on his door.
Oh, Shinjuku, cool.
Oh, that's too funny.
No, it's all right. We get distracted very easily. To be honest, we kind of finished talking about Townsend, haven't we? I mean, it's like I say, I kind of like this week was always going to be end in a kind of open question and answer kind of thing if anyone has any questions about anything.
Yeah.
Because
No,
this episode was so short. I mean, there's not much to really. I mean, I think everyone pretty much believed that McHenry was a figment of Townsend imagination. So it's kind of been like that for the last couple of weeks, isn't it? Really, the kind of conversation's been quite brief on the actual subject.
it's fine. I think
Right.
people kind of enjoy it to some respect.
Well, I kind of like this anyway. I mean, it's meant to be more casual and chit chatty rather than like episode-y.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
fun.
fine. But yeah.
But just a quick update. For those of you who have left reviews and sent in the screenshots for sticker packs, all of those have been sent. So everything's been sent out and mailed. The U.S. postal system is running a little loose lately, so it might take a while, but it'll get there. Everything's been sent out. It's just taking a long time for people to get things nowadays. But if you haven't left a review and you still intend to do one, we are doing it through the end of June. So just go ahead and send a screenshot into social@darkhistories.com and we'll get that out to you. If you are a patron and you do that, just make sure you put a note in there letting us know that you're a patron. That way we can get the little extra goodies out to you too. But we started out at the beginning of June with 164 reviews and we're up to 196 now. So I say yay, we're really close. We're almost at 200, which is pretty darn awesome. And Ben hit the 500 mark on Facebook and broke the 900 mark on Twitter. So
It's mental. People like properly stepped up with the reviews, right? It's really
I was
cool.
telling you, we started at 164, I think it was, in June, and you're up to 196 today.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's
yeah.
I didn't expect people to actually sort of do it because it is a ball ache.
Well, but it's really, honestly, it's not like, I mean, you don't have to type in a big long review. It's, honestly, you really don't. If you go in and if you're doing it through Apple Podcasts and you open up and you go to, Dark Histories, on the bottom where you see the ratings where it's like, 5 stars, there's a little box right underneath that says write a review. If you just click on it and then click the number of stars and then just type in, had a ham sandwich for lunch and then click send, that's it. That's good. It'll do it. So it really doesn't take that long. It's just doing it. But some of the podcatchers are a little different than others, but Apple Podcasts actually made it quite a bit easier. Well, I'll write another review. You don't have to write another one. No, actually, I think on Apple, if you've left a review and you were to go in to try to leave another one, it doesn't let you. It just pulls up the one that you've already left. So yeah.
and then they're gonna. I hope the reviews will go over because they're sacking it off, aren't they? They're Apple are actually
iTunes, not Apple Podcasts as standalone. It's different.
Oh right, yeah, because they're gonna sack off iTunes and just make it Apple Podcasts as like one universal thing across all of their platforms, aren't they?
They're switching it to Apple Music, but everything's gonna vote off. But nobody's gonna lose anything. They said that everything will still stay around and keep the same. So, but yeah, Bridget Cleary that's a pretty dark episode. I mean, it's just a dark story in general.
Yeah, it really was. That really was. That was bleak. That was one of those ones like Hinterkaifeck that kind of was too bleak for me. Even you're writing it and you're just like, you get to the end and you're just, jeez, that was bleak.
She's just. You don't have to vote on anything. I think she's just sings something. But no, there's nothing to vote on. It was just. Yeah. See. Oh, Sharona's volunteering.
Yeah, definitely. So to say that, for the awards episode, if anyone wants to come on and actually make the episode, Sharona definitely. I think, did you send me an email about that, Sharona? I got a couple of emails, and I'm sure one of them was from you. But I didn't email anyone back yet because I just sort of banked them for now until I kind of figure out what's actually going on with that. But yeah, definitely. Definitely. That'd be cool. If anyone wants to do that, I'm going to basically like the episode will be if you want to come on and kind of
Go ahead.
well, no, if anyone wants to basically come on and make the episode with me, then email me contact@darkhistories.com and we can figure that out and we'll sort it all out. But yeah, where do you get votes beside Apple Podcasts?
Yeah, she was being silly. She was just making a joke about the voting thing, but because we were talking about the reviews. But whatever podcatcher you use to listen to Dark Histories on, if you listen to it via podcast, you should be able to leave a review on there. I don't know which one you're using on Android.
Yeah, what do you use on Android? I use Pocket Cast.
There's
got
so
updated
many.
and now I hate it.
There's so many different ones.
There are. Most of them are pretty rubbish as well, or pretty awkward to get around.
Yeah. They all try to be the best that they can, but
well, I still do use Pocket Cast, and I thought it was brilliant. And then they updated it, and it just went to shit. But yeah,
stupid ex-husband's joke.
But yeah, I mean, because a lot of people just listen to it on YouTube as well, so that probably that's quite different, I guess. Because say a lot of people are just sort of YouTube subscribers, and they don't think. I mean, I think everyone's aware that it's on Apple Podcasts and stuff like that, but they just listen to it on YouTube.
Yeah, the thing is, and the reason it's more specific to the actual podcatchers is because that when somebody goes in and types in dark, to search for Dark Histories, and they start to type in dark, the review, the way their algorithm works for the podcatchers is it makes it more visible in the search history. So it's more likely to pop up with the more positive reviews you have, and it's more likely to pop up on their suggestions. A lot of the times, if you're looking for a certain type of podcast, towards the bottom of your feed, depending on which podcatcher you listen to, it'll give you a list of other podcasts you might like based on your listening history. And depending on the number of reviews you have, it's more likely to be popped into that suggestion than it would be if you didn't have any. So that's kind of what we're trying to do, is create that visibility. Plus, some podcatchers like Podbean and whatnot are more likely to feature you on their, even though he's been doing this for almost 2 years, they're more likely to feature you on their featured podcast section, or like their new and noteworthy, if you've got a good base of decent reviews. So that's kind of what we're shooting for too.
It's just so bizarre, isn't it? Podcasts are so behind the times in the way that they do their kind of everything. Like, it's so backwards. It's so behind, like when you look at YouTube and stuff like that.
Oh, trust me, Victoria, there's really no confusion when you look up Dark Histories and our Dark History.
The Black Monk of Pontefract. Yeah, that's a good one. Yes. Definitely.
I didn't tell you, Ben. I made my daughter listen to that podcast with me last week in the car.
Which, what, that one where they talked about Che Guevara being a...
I made her listen to it. It probably took us 3 times.
A fascist dictator.
It probably took us 3 times as long to listen to it than it should have, because she kept hitting pause and going, I can't do this. I can't.
It's amazing. What was the name of that? I mean, we shouldn't shit on other podcasts, but Jesus,
talk about that, but I had to throw it up because Victoria brought it up.
Yeah, but, I mean,
yeah. Now make sure you're looking at Dark Histories, like plural, like with the IES on the end, because there is a Dark History podcast with these 3 girls that
called Che Guevara a fascist dictator.
That's a different one entirely. But yeah, it's kind of funny. But yeah, just make sure you look for the butterfly logo when you leave a review. Make sure you look for the butterfly logo and not the cheap, WordPad word logo art or the big vulture or whatever they have flying in the air. I don't know. There's like 3 podcasts that use.
Yeah, it's not exactly the most original name. That's my fault, really. Like when I started it, I didn't even think to check if names had been used. I just went Dark Histories, that'll do. Should have redone that. And Dark History was around way before I was around as well. So they're the OGs. They actually had the name before me.
Yeah, but they might have the name, but you gotta earn it. You gotta earn the right to keep it.
Well, I think they stopped. I actually think they don't do it anymore. I think, or they're quite scatty with their releases. They don't.
It's like once every 3 or 4 months or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, but they definitely had it before me. So yeah, it's
really
kind of my fault, really. I should have Googled that beforehand, but I didn't. Because I didn't really think of it. When you're making something, you don't really kind of think it's going to ever be anything. You just kind of go, oh, I'm just going to make this Dark Histories, whatever. And now 2 years later, I'm like, oh, but like, of course, hindsight is everything.
But yes, Gareth, exactly. Look for the butterfly. And I agree, Tells, buy them out. I say we just go and tell them we're taking over your we're buying your name.
I did wonder, like, if because I haven't made an episode for a really long time. I did wonder if I could just sort of say, look, guys, you haven't made an episode for a really long time. Do you want to just fuck off? Like, delete everything? But the problem with podcasts is they hang around as well, because like if I make a change to my main podcast feed, the way it's like other like companies scrape Apple iTunes, it could take a really long time to disseminate out. So like I could make a change and like 6 months later it might on another podcatcher still be like as if I hadn't made the change. It's really poorly done. It's just podcasts are just really behind the curve, I think. I mean, the fact that we still have to pay so much for hosting and stuff, when you think at YouTube is like free, everyone can make a YouTube account and bang gigabytes and gigabytes of videos to be hosted for free. Whereas if you start a podcast, bend over basically, like and that's for like a few megabytes of audio hosting. Yeah, it's bizarre. It's really behind the curve, but hopefully things will change. Although, do we really want it to change? Because it's kind of cool the way it is being independent, and that's really kind of getting. I mean, we're getting really off topic now, but like podcasts are really not. These days it's the big companies have kind of eaten it all up, haven't they? And anyway, let's talk about
there's something to be said for the independent ones, though. I think
there's a lot to be said. The big companies are shit. They're supposed to not beat around the bush. The big companies are absolute shit.
If Gareth, if you have access, because even iTunes carries
my cats.
I know iTunes.
Oh wait, I thought you meant my cat. You can review my cat if you want. I've got such bad eyesight. I am getting an eye test on Tuesday.
If you have access to iTunes, great. If not, whatever podcatcher you have is fine. Honestly, it really doesn't matter. Just make sure you send the screenshot, and we'll send you some stuff that way. Because I don't want you guys leaving reviews and then he's laughing, and then not getting something for it. I mean, that's
cool stuff as well. It is actually cool stuff.
So it's more than a sticky note in an envelope. So we try, She is. She's
sometimes.
She's just a strong-willed female. That's all.
Yes.
She knows what she wants in life. This kitty.
Yeah, we can say that.
She's a Bengal, Sharona. So
she's very evil. Yeah, Sharona. Yeah,
I should tell you something right there. She's strong-willed.
Absolute headache.
You love her.
I do, but reluctantly.
He does, only because he's afraid of what she'll do to him.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I think that's it. Next month we'll do we've
Well, I
got
don't know
some.
that one. The Parent Family Haunting. I don't know that. I'll have to look at that. Thanks very much.
Oh,
Shall write that in my. Take a note of that as we speak.
I'll put it on the list with the other ones that you have.
Yeah, I have.
I gave it to you.
Yeah, it's
Now watch
cool.
it.
I have like this really. What did I put on the list the other day? There's a Granger Taylor. I just write random stuff on this list, and I have no idea what it is when I go back to it. So I've written Granger Taylor, Spaceman.
Oh.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
But,
you probably heard bedtime stories. They just did it recently.
it might have been. I
That
don't
might
know.
have been
Bedtime
what you did.
stories. I don't know that. What did I hear it on? I did hear it on something else.
Bedtime stories is probably out of the podcast, like when you go to the Discord. And yeah, by the way, if you're not on the Discord, go to the Discord. It's a good place to hang out. On those other podcast channels in Discord, a lot of
Okay.
people seem to enjoy it. Even James Clark enjoys it. And
Yeah, it might have been that
James
then.
is very particular with his podcasting.
I found it. I think it was. I actually, do you know what? I don't think I did listen to it on that, but I think I will now because I heard the story. I think it was on some really crap UFO podcast where I've been looking for a good one over the last few days, and it was really poorly done, which is why I wrote it in mine. But hopefully they've done it better because it was quite an interesting story.
Oh, see? Gareth found Dark Histories after listening to bedtime stories. Well, happy
Cool.
Father's Day, Gareth. Enjoy your day tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we'll probably call it a day. Actually, I think Gareth's probably onto something there.
Since
So
it's only like 3:30 in Ben's time.
it is 3:30 in the morning. Yeah, 3:36. Bloody hell. To be honest, I've been staying up all like really late recently anyway to watch the Poxy NBA playoff finals. So
Yeah, our little Brit over here is watching the NBA finals.
yeah.
It just makes me laugh.
Pleasure, Towels. Thanks very much for coming. Thanks very much for coming, everybody. It's been great. Yeah, another kind of rambling live stream episode. There'll be another one of these in 2 weeks, say after next week's. But I think possibly next one will be a bit more on topic because, say, next week's episode is absolutely batshit. So I think we'll probably have a lot more to talk about.
Oh my god.
But yes, no, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much, guys, for coming along. If anyone ever wants to come on the stream as well, like you're more than welcome. Like the link should be in the description every time, and you can just come on, and just chat shit, because that's always there.
Yeah,
But
but yeah.
cat butt, yeah. All right, let's go.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks very much, everyone. It's been a pleasure as always. I'll see you guys soon. Yeah, next week for the episode and 2 weeks for another live stream.
Bye.
Cheers.